In today's episode of Gardening 101, we started off by looking at a colourful must-have in the garden. Yes, impatiens and sun patience are on our list of must-have plants. Now we join Linda Galvad of Sought After Seedlings at their inner city farm, where she'll show you the right way to grow fruit trees in pots.
I always get asked to do an episode on planting organic fruit trees in pots. The wonderful thing about that is it's so easy to do. I'm sure you've seen it so many times, but you just don't know how. So today we're going to show you step by step how you can grow your own organic orchard in pots. You may ask why grow in containers. Well, there are obvious reasons, like if you live in an apartment and you only have a balcony or a patio to grow in. Another wonderful reason is that you have much more control, so you can put in to the pot what the plant needs when it needs it. A fabulous thing to do is to have a self-watering system like the one we have here, where you can give the plant water every single day by this drip irrigation. You just turn the adapter on to 11 and you leave it. You'll probably only need to fill the bottle up again in about a week and a half to 2 weeks' time. The thing about planting in containers, and I would say that the key, is how big the pot is, and the bigger the better. There are so many things you can grow in a pot. We grow peaches and apricots and plums and Cape gooseberries and blackberries, and of course citrus. They love containers. Another wonderful benefit is if you're going to move, you can take your precious organic fruit trees with you. And planting in pots gives you a head start on the season because pots warm up far sooner than the ground. The key to growing in pots is the size of the pot, and the bigger the pot, the better. We always use pots a minimum of 50 centimeters wide and 40 centimeters deep. Now, with this lemon tree, as you can see, it's so happy, we've used a pot that's 70 centimeters wide and 60 centimeters deep. The wonderful thing is, with strawberries, which are a much smaller growing plant, you can use a much smaller pot, like we've done here with this 20 centimeter wide and 20 centimeter deep. With our bigger trees, we like to use cut-off wine vats. We've used a lot of those, and those are about 65 centimeters wide and 45 centimeters deep. They grow really successfully, and just look at this wonderful fruit that we have here. The reason why we're in the greenhouse now, because another important factor to consider, if you want to grow subtropical fruit and you live in a climate like we do in Johannesburg, then what you can do is you can bring your plants into your greenhouse and overwinter your trees. And when summer comes along, you can then take them back outside. Another great reason why you can grow in pots. So what we're going to do now is we're going to talk about growing a lovely little lemon tree in a pot. And the most important thing when you do growing in containers, raised beds, or anywhere, you have to consider your soil. Soil is so important. When growing in pots, drainage and soil work together. It's really important that you have a pot that's big enough and has sufficient drainage holes. Add stones into the pot as well. 3 to 6 centimeters will be just perfect so that you can aid the drainage. Now we're going to show you how it's all done. What we have here is a 50 centimeter pot in diameter and 40 centimeters wide. We've already put our 3 centimeters of stones, and we have 20 drainage holes in the bottom, about the size of a 10-cent coin. And that's sufficient. You can see that I've already made the mix of the soil. I'm going to tell you exactly what to do, so don't stress. What I need to tell you is that when you transplant your fruit tree from the growing bag or the pot, you need to make sure that the level is at the same level as it was in the pot to the level of the pot that you're transplanting into. That's really important. So firstly, let me tell you about the soils that we've used. We've used equal amounts of organic potting soil, organic compost, of course compost is key here, and we've used vermiculite. equal parts of that too. The reason why we use vermiculite is because it creates spaces in the soil which allows for oxygen, and the plants breathe through their roots. So it's really important. Don't push the soil down, because then you remove all the oxygen. That's another very important factor to consider. So we've already added the soil in here. We've mixed it up. We've used a terrific organic fertilizer that's really good for fruit and flowers, and that's going to give the plant all the macro and micronutrients it needs while it grows. So let's measure. You can see that the level is the same as it was in the grow bag. We've cut the grow bag open, and when the roots are really, really root bound and they're twisted up all over the place, you can gently ruffle them up. But the point is, try not to disrupt the roots at all. You don't want to create any kind of transplant shock. So we're going to remove the bag. There you go. Obviously, center your plant where you want it to grow. You can see this is kind of growing off at a side, but the important thing is that we've trimmed the extra branches because we want the main stem to develop. So we've got our fruit tree in here, and now we're just going to add the extra soil into the pot all the way around. And once we've done that, we're going to shake the pot a little just to get all the soil in, settled into all the grooves and cracks that can fill the pot up nicely. Right, you want to give it a good watering in. So we're going to do that. We're just going to give you a bit of an example right now of how much water to give, but you've got to really give it a good watering in. And remember, it's a good idea to do your potting up where you're going to leave the tree permanently, because it gets really heavy. Lastly is mulching. Mulching is so unbelievably important for so many reasons. One, it keeps the roots warm in winter, which is so important because it's exposed on the sides. Number two, it keeps the weeds at bay. And probably most importantly, it keeps moisture in the pot, which is so terribly important in a water-constrained environment. So we're going to add mulch. We're going to use straw, and we're going to put quite a lot of mulch on. Of course, you can use dead leaves. That's also a great mulch. And you can use torn up newspaper. The only thing about torn up newspaper is it might prevent the water from getting into the soil. So I really do prefer using dead leaves or straw. Even some dead hay is a great thing to use. You'll notice that I'm not putting the mulch right up against the bark, because you don't want any kind of rotting to happen. But you can go pretty close up. So 5 centimeter diameter is absolutely fine. But you can see I'm putting rather a thick layer of mulch. I can assure you this tree is going to be so happy in here. The last thing I'm going to put in is an EcoSmart waterer, just so that I can let this tree grow and have water every single day without me having to worry about it. Of course, there is a benefit of growing and using pots, and just remember, you're not going to get as much fruit as you would if you had planted the tree in the ground, but it's really worth it anyway. So enjoy, and we'll see you next time.
After the break, Michael Rickhoff is back with another step in designing a garden. This time around, he's looking at adding details to what was previously just lines.